see you guys in the dark.
I'm a 22-year-old male, just finished my master's at university. When I was 12, I was given permission to start using my dad's spare laptop, since his work gave him a new one every couple of years, and he thought that I could use the experience of getting used to technology early on. When I got into high school, I got word from a group of stoners, I'm really not sure why they were talking about it, that people were accessing restricted parts of the internet which held everyone's information. I went ahead and did some digging online and found out about the dark web, which is what most of you know as the deep web, finding proxy sites as well as hacks that could use command prompts to make your IP address and mask them so that you can just go through a lot of locked doors. I spent the better part of my late teens doing this kind of stuff online, using a few online forums like Raddot most of the time to talk with people who were basically doing the same stuff as me. I didn't have very many friends offline, so yeah, online was the place for me, and I got pretty good at blending in. I had like 3 aliases which I used, but only a close online friend of mine knew that they were all me. Nathan was my main link to the dark web, since he somehow spent more time on it than I did, even when the only thing I did other than ghosting with him was playing Halo with him on my friends list. What I liked about him is that neither of us mentioned our last names, or any real information, even though we both could have looked it up at any time and found pretty much whatever we wanted about the other person. That being said, I trusted Nathan more than almost anyone, and he knows more about this story than I'll be willing to admit on here. In university, I roomed with a local dealer who, unknown to education board that expelled him, actually worked for me. It was freaking easy to order narcotics online with MDMA, and X if you knew where to look. I even had them shipped to my dorm room's local P.O. box at one time without anyone being any of the fucking wiser. I'd get drugs online, my former friend who would then use his real-life connections to sell them, since I didn't really have any of my own. This was around the time that I felt I held all the cards, and no one could touch me if they couldn't track my IP address. In the second year of my biomed course, when I got into the stupid shit, scumbag piece of crap would be sharing snuff videos online that would make even the most messed up movie you've laid eyes upon look freaking white bread. This was why I only used links that I either found myself, or more often the ones that Nathan gave me. We would spend days, literally days, just marveling at all the crazy crap which people would get away with. Yeah, the government had shut down the main sites like Silk Road and Mad Onion, but those are like the only ones that idiots online seem to ever take notice of. Other hacks would message me on forums asking for sites to get weed, and other things from which it was as simple as pointing in a freaking direction. The university claimed to monitor internet traffic to stop people from doing freaky shit online after they heard people were hacking student accounts and ruining online schedules. But I guarantee you they did absolutely nothing to people who were actually doing it. Note, I'm not confessing to having done any of these. I just know exactly which individuals did. By the 3rd year, I made enough money to have a long screen setup on my own, which made decrypting sites detail a lot quicker for me, since I could actually read 200 bars without having to scroll through the tab, and I actually had gotten pretty good at it. I had to be delving around some messed up sites, and to be honest, I'd even talk in chats to some of the admins in charge of them. You'd be surprised how normal a deep website owner would seem if you didn't know that they also had a day job. More curious though, really stupid of me. After nearly 10 years of seamlessly making my way around the dark web, I joined Nathan as well as a few others in my chat room, just screwing about and sharing some screwed up sites. Might sound weird, but for me it's a pretty everyday thing to do. Nathan and another friend were talking about some site that no one managed to get past the encryption, apart from one other person who's even more of a no-life than me. The rest of us are pretty sure he's autistic or some crap, because the site he shared with us was arguably the most vile thing I've ever laid eyes upon. For those of you that are still with me, this is why I'm posting this here. This site is the most cancerous and revolting sector from the darkest part of the deep web. It is a scar that I bear to this day, and it is one that I will never, ever forget. I'll warn readers again, this is not for the faint of heart, and sometimes even the most emotionally numb people will not be able to deal with this. I won't share the site URL since I don't want this post being taken down, nor do I want anyone giving it to the slightest bit of publicity aside from what I have to say here. That being said, it did have a subheading in the HTML. That I'll leave other people like me to have a look at if they want to. Most people prefer it as a cold body. The guy who was in the chat room earlier gave Nathan and I an encrypted URL for us, but he was too freaking giddy about getting through to the site himself to send us an encryption, so Nathan and I had to manually go through the whole process ourselves. We tried for hours. Nathan and I had been doing this for the entirety of our adult lives, yet we've never seen code like this before. Come to think of it, I doubt that the other guy in the chat cracked this by himself. Nathan and I both called it a night, so I left the command prompt open and went outside to smoke. Nathan remained on the chat so that we could play Anvil, a Russian crack of Halo for PC. But when I got back, his microphone was muted for some reason. For people like us who had nothing to hide from each other, we almost never muted our mics. I waited a few minutes, thinking maybe he's jerking off, or maybe gone to get something. Nothing. I don't think much of it. My brain is too occupied with the weed flowing through my bloodstream. I sat down and took another look through the code, thinking there was something that I missed. I did. The code was completely different, completely unencrypted. I simply launched the URL, and my PC whirred for a moment, until finally opened up about 20 windows across my two monitors, all of them scrambling code through a debugger that I had installed. Even with 32 gigabytes of RAM, my computer was making more noise than it ever has been doing this kind of stuff. I thought to myself, I'm going to have to OC my crap in the BIOS if I was going to have a shot of getting through, and I was not feeling up for it after smoking too much. I get ready to hard reset before my monitors turned off, and back on one at a time. This was when I started getting a bit paranoid. I was thinking about just letting it go. I freaking wished that I did that. The windows were almost all gone. Only 4 were still there, and 2 of them were normal deep websites that the admin probably used to relay the IP address through. First site that I had seen do that. All of the text was a dark red and extremely primitive for a site that I thought would be at least a little bit more impressive, considering its security. The main center window had only a small amount of text on the screen. If you made it this far, you know what you were in for. If you still don't, you don't belong here. Even though I was feeling mellow, the text and sheer awe of what I was getting myself into pierced me with fear. A simple Y/N prompt popped up in the window. I accepted, ready for whatever waited me on the other side. The room window came to life in the second remaining window. I was wondering what it was for. Perhaps another IP relay, or a shadow app that hid the true nature of the site behind it. I simply stated, insert name, as well as an optional password that I'm still not sure what was for. The fact that people might have accounts to this kind of site, looking back on it, is pretty messed up. I used my most recent alias, Diablo, put out the rest of it for obvious reasons. A couple more scrolls of red text flew up the window, and then it opened up into an actual sort of chat room, like you'd seen on Omegle or some shit, except for with no ads or color or anything besides the dark red text. The chat was a bit more advanced than the first window, which was now frozen and wasn't responding to any console commands I was using on it. I have to say, the feeling of finding this site in the first place felt pretty awesome. I couldn't wait to tell Nathan. That was until the chat window popped up with names. One that I recognized was his, using one of his aliases as well. I'd say about 36 people were in the chat room, no names that I can remember. And even if I did, I wouldn't dare reveal them, not after this. I tried calling Nathan on my phone, but he obviously wasn't picking up. We were so screwed. It was stupid of us to delve this far into the deep web without knowing what we got ourselves into. Users definitely hadn't met before, as they immediately started posting messages on the window, as me and Nathan remained silent. As they were casually talking about stuff, I was starting to calm down a bit. Maybe this was just a stupid exclusive cult website that talked about organizing deals or other dumb shit that I've found in the past. It all seemed so normal, so why all the obscurity? The first window, still blank and unresponsive, suddenly began loading up a video file of some sort. A snuff video, perhaps? It would make sense to hide one, but not this extensively. And the chat room didn't make much sense. I wish this stuff had been going through my head at the time, if I wasn't retarded enough to get stoned before going through with this. I felt tempted to ask the other users what the video was about, but I was afraid that might give me away as someone who's not supposed to be there. Nathan hadn't said anything either, so I wasn't going to risk doing something suspicious like that. I got the guts to ask, "What are we all here for?" Trying to sound as eccentric and dim-witted as I could. I didn't get a response from them. As a matter of fact, no one said another word. I didn't stay quiet, but I assumed that he noticed me in chat as well, now that I've posted. The video had stopped loading and had begun playing. Some more messages from the other users shared their anticipation as footage of a dark gray basement somewhere took shape on the screen. The resolution for the video was pretty awful at first, but rendered pretty well after about 30 seconds. I was scared. No one else in the house that I share with my roommates. Most had left for summer vacation, and I didn't head home for another 2 weeks. I was alone in the dark with little else but the ambient sound of whatever was happening behind the camera in the video. It stayed like this for about 4 or 5 minutes. I spent every second of it staring at the screen, waiting for something to happen. Finally, a dude steps onto the screen, holding up a whiteboard with foreign letters on it, as well as the words "cold body" underneath. The guy was freaking ominous to look at. Pretty overweight, and what could only be described as a motorbiker's beard. The man spoke. I had no idea what he was saying at first. He was speaking in Chinese, I think, but I don't really know. I'm not a linguist. Luckily for Nathan and I, the man had another person beside him who spoke some broken English. "Hello, users. Welcome to Cold Body Show." That's what he said. I was honestly more interested than scared at this point. This video looked like it could be something worth showing to others. That thought never crossed my mind again. With a broken English bursts into tears, and sobs out of nowhere. He sobs in front of the camera and jerks around in what I can only guess was desperation. The man holding the sign yells at the guy in Chinese before another man enters the frame and puts a gun to his head. Before I could even realize that it was a gun, the man fired. He didn't stop there. Pressing the barrel against the guy's temple, he fired again and again, each shot spraying more blood, and what I guess was parts of the skull. Okay, so a shock video. Not much out of the ordinary here. That was when I stared at the chat window again. The users were talking about what they should do next. Users were all typing in different languages, but almost all the English ones that I read said, "Shoot him again." I realized then that I wasn't watching some shock video or stupid snuff film that the admins had hid behind all of the proxies. This was a live stream. I was watching a live stream of people being shot in front of me. We all were. Type in the chat, "You sick fucks. What the hell are you guys doing?" But the texts weren't responding to me because so many people were spamming the chat with foreign text I couldn't read. Another person is brought out in front of the camera, this time already sobbing and trying to break free of the ropes that had been around her ankles and wrists. She was naked and covered in bruises and cuts. I didn't do anything but wait for the inevitable. The man shot her and watched her body fall limp to the floor. People in the chat cheered and asked for more. Someone picked up the camera and positions it in a different direction towards a metal table covered with some sort of bin liner. The woman's body was dragged by the hair into the frame and placed on the table. What happens next, I don't think the world should know. All I'm going to say is the body was slumped on the table like a surgeon would do before operating on a person. Some more people wearing red and black ski masks went up to the body, holding items varying from kitchen knives to cordless drills. I couldn't watch without feeling physically sick to my stomach. Tore her apart. I almost immediately retched and almost vomit over my keyboard, but I gained control of myself before that happens. My heart was beating like crazy. The whole situation was messed up, and I was in way over my head. By the time the men were finished, there was a literal stump of a human being left. Not that you could even call that a human. If it weren't for the other weird sights that I had seen before this, I might not have stayed as long as I did. 3 more people were brought onto the screen, all of them screaming for their lives and trying to escape. One of them was shot in the leg. The others stand there shaking in place, trying not to scream again. The man holding up the sign walks up to the lens of the camera and stares into it. I see his black eyes, blood splattered across his face. I breathed faster, and I actually had to look away. It was like he was staring right at me. He says something else in a foreign language, probably the same one as before. When he stops speaking, the chat window does the same. Hardly a single other post, just a chat window awaiting some response. About 20 seconds passes of him staring into the camera after speaking. Nothing happens at first. The chat then mentions me and Nathan by our usernames. More of them spam our names in posts that take over the scrolling message board. As soon as they mention our aliases, I started freaking out. I try to close the black windows, but every time that I try, the window says the application is not responding. The live stream continues. The man staring at me, and the messages prompting me to say something. One of the few comments in proper English pops up. He's asking us to choose which one to end first. I freeze for about 5 seconds before unplugging my computer from the wall. I didn't care about anything anymore. I just wanted to leave the site and never come back. I sat there with a blank screen in front of me for a bit before pacing around the kitchen. I was done with it. I didn't sleep at all. I was too traumatized to think about resting after what I had seen. At the time of this happening, I was thinking about reporting the site to the police. But I, of all people, know that they can't do anything to stop this. To think that more of these sites could definitely exist, that more people are getting gunned down, or even worse for entertainment, it's something that I can't think about. I spent 2 days talking to some close friends about this stuff. Though I left out all of the details, I just said I'd seen something disturbing online. They all know what I do in my free time, so they didn't think much of it since I'd mentioned snuff films and messed up sites before. They didn't know that Nathan and I had seen. I mustered up the courage to turn on my PC again, and I was freaking relieved to see no sign of any viruses, and most of all, no black windows scattered on my desktop. I immediately go to check in and see if Nathan had left me any messages on Red Dot. I had several messages from him with a few files attached to the second. I was hoping to talk this whole ordeal through with him, but the files immediately caught my eye. The attachments were pictures of me, stolen from my Facebook and email. Pictures of my old school, university, and even my friends here. The messages after my addresses, emails, online aliases, and even the names of my family members. My IP address was posted to the bottom, and I realized how fucked that I was. Last picture of me and my old girlfriend, with her IP address and details pasted on top of the picture. There's no way that they tracked me down. I take a few minutes to pull myself together before writing back, "What the hell happened? Who are you?" I didn't get a response, and I still haven't to this day. He has all of my details. He knows everything about me and my family, and I don't even know what else. I still don't know what happened to him since I left that live stream. I only pray that the information he has doesn't fall into the hands of those insane motherfuckers who ended and desecrated dozens of people on the darkest part of the internet. I can't let him find me or those that I care about. I'll never go back to that part of the internet again. It's not safe for me, you, or anyone else. The police can't find them, but they can definitely find you. Don't try and find the site. Don't try and report the site. They will do to you what they did to me. And if you think that they won't find you, then remember that I was freaking invisible. Do you want to take the chance that they won't find someone like you? Don't go onto the deep web. And for the sake of your humanity, never seek out the people who are behind this. They'll only find you. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.